The House of Windsor has seen countless disputes, scandals, and betrayals throughout its thousand-year history, but the latest clash between King Charles III and his youngest son, Prince Harry, has erupted with a venom rarely witnessed even in the cutthroat world of royalty. What should have been a simple family matter, a father's request to see his grandchildren, has instead exploded into an international controversy. Sources close to Buckingham Palace reveal that Harry went absolutely nuts when King Charles rejected his request to bring Archie and Lilbet to Buckingham Palace for a private visit. Yet behind Harry's rage lies a deeper, more sinister truth: the omnipresent hand of Meghan Markle, whose influence over her husband has shaped every aspect of his estrangement from the monarchy. Meghan has always been at the center of the storm, whether by design or coincidence. But insiders increasingly believe her influence is far from accidental. Harry's request, they argue, was less about family bonding and more about Meghan's attempt to reclaim a foothold in the very palace she abandoned. Charles's refusal, therefore, was not just an act of paternal rejection but a symbolic defense of the monarchy itself. To understand the explosive rejection, one must trace the roots of this bitter divide. The story begins in January 2020, when Harry and Meghan abruptly announced their intention to step back from royal duties in what became known as Megxit. At the time, the couple claimed they sought freedom from the stifling constraints of palace life and the toxic glare of the British press. Yet almost immediately after leaving, Meghan and Harry seemed unable to let go of their royal identities. From the infamous Oprah interview to their multi-million-dollar deals with Netflix and Spotify, the Sussexes' brand has relied heavily on their connection to the very monarchy they criticized. For King Charles and senior courtiers, this contradiction is no longer tolerable. By seeking to bring Archie and Lilibet into Buckingham Palace, Harry was not merely asking for a family reunion, he was attempting to tether his children, and by extension Meghan, once more to the heart of the monarchy. Meghan Markle has always been skilled at controlling narratives, and Archie and Lilibet have become her most powerful assets. While Meghan frequently claims she wants privacy for her children, her actions suggest otherwise. Every photograph released, every detail shared in interviews, and every dispute over their titles reveals a carefully curated strategy to ensure Archie and Lilibet remain firmly embedded in the royal conversation. When Harry demanded palace access for the children, insiders say the move had Meghan's fingerprints all over it. The timing, the delivery, and the insistence all pointed to a larger agenda. Meghan, critics argue, sees Archie and Lilibet as both symbols of her victimhood, innocent children denied their rightful heritage, and tools to maintain her family's relevance on the world stage. For Charles, granting Harry's request would have been disastrous. It would have allowed Meghan to claim a silent victory, proving that even after Megxit, she could dictate terms to the monarchy. Instead, the king's rejection reasserted royal boundaries, making it clear that Meghan's leverage stops at the palace gates. King Charles is no stranger to family conflict. His own turbulent marriage to Diana, Princess of Wales, was rife with drama, leaks, and betrayals. But as monarch, Charles faces a new kind of threat, one not rooted in internal dysfunction but in external manipulation. Senior aides advised him that granting Harry's request could set a dangerous precedent, opening the door for Meghan to exploit palace access for her own narratives. This was not a decision made lightly. Charles, by all accounts, longs for a genuine relationship with his grandchildren. Yet as king, his duty extends beyond personal affection. His rejection of Harry's demand was a strategic defense of the monarchy's dignity. He could not, and would not, allow Buckingham Palace to be used as a backdrop in Meghan's ongoing war with the crown. Witnesses to Harry's reaction describe it as volcanic. Messages were fired off in fury, phone calls made in anger, and confidants left shaken by the intensity of his outburst. Yet those who know Harry best say this was not the independent outrage of a wronged son, but rather the conditioned fury of a man deeply influenced by his wife. Psychologists observing Harry's public behavior over the past few years note a troubling pattern. Once confident and mischievous, Harry now appears perpetually angry, defensive, and aggrieved. His explosive response to Charles's rejection reflects Meghan's own style of confrontation, aggressive, emotional, and uncompromising. Harry, it seems, has become less a participant in the feud and more an extension of Meghan's grievances. Every family needs a scapegoat, but in this royal saga, Meghan has willingly embraced the role of antagonist. Whether through media interviews, lawsuits, or memoir revelations, Meghan consistently casts herself as both victim and disruptor. She thrives in controversy, knowing that every feud fuels her global brand. By pushing Harry to demand palace access for the children, Meghan set the stage for another round of drama. A rejection, as expected, feeds the narrative of a cold, unyielding monarchy denying innocent children their rightful place. A concession, had it been granted, would have been spun as proof that Meghan's persistence wins out against centuries-old royal traditions. In this sense, Charles's refusal was the only viable option, but one that inevitably cast him as the villain in Meghan's carefully crafted story. The true tragedy lies with Archie and Lilbet, who have become unwilling pawns in this unending war. On one hand, Meghan and Harry insist on shielding them from scrutiny. On the other, they repeatedly use them as bargaining chips in negotiations with the palace. From the heated debates over whether they should receive royal titles to the timing of their rare public appearances, the children are consistently at the center of Meghan's strategic plays. Critics argue that Meghan's obsession with securing recognition for her children reveals her deeper motive to ensure her legacy is permanently bound to the monarchy. By insisting on palace access, Meghan was not protecting her children, but rather weaponizing them, using their royal bloodline to demand concessions she herself could never secure. History is littered with examples of royals using heirs as leverage. From the Wars of the Roses in the 15th century to the bitter custody battles of Queen Victoria's descendants, royal children have long been pawns in power struggles. Meghan's maneuvering, therefore, is not without precedent. Yet what makes this episode so combustible is the modern media landscape. In an age of streaming platforms, podcasts, and instant global news, every family spat becomes international theater. Meghan has weaponized this dynamic better than anyone before her, ensuring that every rejection by the palace becomes another headline, another opportunity to position herself as the wronged outsider. Inside Buckingham Palace, the atmosphere is tense. Senior courtiers speak of a constant state of siege, with every interaction with Harry and Meghan scrutinized for potential fallout. Staff are instructed to communicate with extreme caution, aware that even the most innocuous detail could be twisted into a media firestorm.